In the middle of the 1970s, Planet of the Apes was huge in Britain. Really huge. While the TV series had bombed in America, seeing it cancelled after just 13 episodes, in Britain it was a ratings smash and ape fever was rampant amongst the nation's youth. The shops were awash with ape merchandise, both official and otherwise. Mego action figures based on both the movies and the TV show, posters, t-shirts, badges, model kits, masks, games and more were cranked out by eager companies keen to cash in. Brown Watson produced 3 annuals that mixed comic strips based on the TV show with short stories and articles, and the Assaulted Apes novels were widely available. Marvel UK's weekly Planet of the Apes comic launched in October 1974 and quickly ran out of reprint material from the original monthly US comics, which for a while avoided cancellation simply in order to feed material to the big-selling British edition, and at one point even ran retooled versions of Marvel's Killraven strip, with the character renamed Ape Slayer and the Martians he'd originally battled reworked as apes. The comic ran for an impressive 139 editions, more than most UK Marvel comics of the 1970s managed. And it accidentally led to one of the oddest Apes spin-offs of the decade, a fly-by-night operation that saw the Planet of the Apes story expanded in a way that no one expected. This is the Overlooked Hotel, and this is the story of the Planet of the Apes stage show. Marvel UK in the 1970s was little more than an office in Sevenoaks where Neil Tennant, later to be a pet shop boy, edited the UK weeklies by sorting out the letters page and sending retooled artwork delivered from the US to the printers. It was a pretty basic operation and certainly wasn't set up to deal with the massive amount of fan mail that suddenly started to flood in for Planet of the Apes. Luckily for them, an official UK fan club had just been launched by the somewhat unexciting sounding Television Character Productions, a family-run PR firm with big ambitions. They had somehow secured the rights to run an Apes fan club in 1975 and quickly came to an arrangement with Marvel UK to take over the fan mail in exchange for weekly promotion in the comic. A system that worked brilliantly for both companies as each fed the growing Apes obsession. This was a time long before tightly controlled corporate operations that had to adhere to very specific studio rules about imagery and artwork if they wanted to license a property. At this time, before Star Wars changed everything, no one really understood the value of merchandising and the need to ensure that everybody was singing from the same hymn sheet. Once you licensed a property, you could pretty much do what you wanted with it within a few vague restrictions. Television Character Productions was run by Big Mike Caulfield, a man who had ambitions far beyond sending a monthly newsletter out to an army of 10-year-olds. Along with his wife June, brother Peter and secretary Sally Skinner, Caulfield quickly set up a series of public appearances by characters in the shows at supermarkets and shopping centres, allowing members of the public to have their photo taken with Urko or Galen. The costumes and makeup were June's responsibility, and in fairness, she did a pretty decent job of it. This innovation quickly evolved into a live show where a full cast would perform a mostly unscripted stunt show with horses and lots of action, usually as part of touring rodeos and circuses. There would be audience interaction, with the cast running out into the crowd in search of the escaped humans, and it all sounded tremendously exciting. Reports on the show would then be written up in the newsletter, stoking up excitement for other performances. These shows ran from July 1975 through to September 1976, by which time an even more ambitious theatrical extravaganza was underway. A bona fide Planet of the Apes stage play long before The Simpsons ever thought of the idea. Whether or not 20th Century Fox even knew that any of this was taking place is unclear. Written by the circus show fight director Mike McCarthy, the theatrical show mixed elements of the TV show and the movies, with 2 astronauts, named Taylor and Brent in the script but regularly renamed from show to show, crashing through the time barrier and landing in London circa 3085, where the apes rule supreme. The show mixed drama and pantomime, again with audience participation, and featured characters like Galen, Urko, Dr. Zaius, and the glamorous human slave girl Pila. Something for all the family, including Dad then. The first performance took place at the Theatre Royal in Stratford on July 19, 1976, where it would run for a month. A second company opened up in Great Yarmouth a week later, and again that show ran for a month. Sale of the Century hostess Angela Davis played Pila in this show, apparently the closest the show ever got to a star name. By the start of 1977, the Apes were back to making appearances at Tesco's across the country, and ape fever was finally starting to diminish. The Marvel comic had finally run out of steam and material, being absorbed into the company's UK flagship title, The Mighty World of Marvel, and then being finally dropped entirely in June. And of course, a much bigger science fiction franchise was just around the corner. But the live shows would continue in a rather piecemeal manner well into 1978, with a fortnight at the Cleethorpes Pier between July 24th and August the 5th being the last gasp. That also seems to have been the end of both the fan club and television character promotions. The business had been on thin ice since Mike Caulfield had moved from London to Leeds in March 1977, leaving the admin up to Peter. The fan club, like the Apes craze, probably lasted longer than most fads allowed, but no doubt there were still some die-hard fans disgruntled and a pound membership out of pocket when the club finally folded in 1979. The stage show quickly slipped into obscurity, though in recent years there has been a revival of interest in this decidedly not canon entry in the franchise, even leading to an audio adaptation of the script that I suspect is rather more dramatic than the live show ever was. Here's a snippet.
What are the charges against the prisoner?
The prisoner Galen is charged with arguing with his superiors, clearly showing that he does not feel as we do. He has questioned the decisions of the council and is therefore a threat to the community. Not only has he done this, which in itself warrants the death penalty, but he has also released our two most important prisoners, proving beyond all doubt that he is a traitor to the planet of the Apes. There can only be one verdict, and that is guilty. And only one punishment, the firing squad.
But this is not justice.
Silence! It is the only justice traitors can expect.
In these days of carefully controlled franchises where everything is coordinated on a global level, it's fun to look back at this curious, practically forgotten period where localized rogue elements were allowed to create their own variations on a popular story. I can't help but feel that convergence and control has lost us some very original and unusual toys, novelties, games, and, in this case, stage shows. So, did you get to see Planet of the Apes live? Or did you own any of the Apes merchandise from the 1970s? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.